Welcome back, fellow Blues fans, to the Free Blue Boys podcast, and thank you for joining us again. First off, thank you everyone so far who's subscribed to the channel, given us a like and interacted us on the comments section. It is really appreciated, and we look forward to your continued support as we delve further as fellow Blues fans as the season goes along. On our various platforms. Links to all of which are on the screen now for you. I'm Dan Harris, your co-host, and I'm joined again today by my fellow co-hosts, Andy Harris and Joe Harris. How are we doing, gentlemen?
Hello, not too bad. How are you doing?
You well? Very good, thank you. Yeah, glad to be back again.
It's good stuff, yeah. It's a quick turnaround for the second one, but season's around the corner, isn't it? It's exciting. We're all excited.
I think we are.
And, you know, it's come by so quickly, but, yeah, we've got a little bit to talk about, haven't we? So.
We have indeed. And as I say, as much as we are grateful for the feedback and everybody liking and subscribing and interacting with us across the socials so far, it's good to be rolling on, rolling off, isn't it? Yeah. With the episodes, as you say, Joe, with the season coming up quick as well.
Yep.
I'll reiterate that, Dan, about thanking people. You know, I think that is a really, really important thing. You know, it's the people out there that ultimately make the podcast in the long term what it is.
It is.
Some of the comments, you know, the comments back that we've got to be great. I'll pick one out in particular because it made me kind of chuckle. Is I
know which one you're going to say.
Yeah, I got one that said that I didn't realise that Jeremy Corbyn had crossed over to the blue side, and now I assume on that basis that it wasn't either of you two. So I'll take that as being me. Now, I have to say, it's entirely coincidental that Jeremy launched his new party on the same week that our podcast came out. So there's no connection whatsoever. So I don't have any kind of, conspiracy theories.
What's going on there? What's going on there?
Yeah, maybe.
Are we saying maybe purely coincidental on that front?
We'll just have to go with that for now. Just put that conspiracy out there. So, but yeah, anyway, it was nice to get a bit of humour as well as people's kind of likes and thumbs up and all the rest of it. So yeah, good week, and it's come around quick, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just to second what you were saying there, Andy, as well, shout out to the chap who was expecting us to break the guitars out as well, with the three of us sitting here on the stools as well. There's time yet.
We're not a blues act, so let's just clear that up. We definitely cannot sing.
We're definitely not.
As soon as we saw that comment, I literally said to you, didn't I? Like, it reminded me, it's the box to box guy with the guitar. Plays the same song. Anybody who's watching knows exactly what I mean. In box to box, he plays the same songs every game, man.
Yeah, I know the chap you're on about.
So maybe we'll get him on. I mean,
we should.
Maybe.
We should do.
Who knows? Guest appearance.
You know what you get with him anyway, don't you?
Well, exactly. It's the same stuff, isn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's consistent.
It is. It's true. So, anyway, good week.
Yeah, good week heading into the second episode today. So, and to kick it all off, really, we're going into the pre-season friendlies that we've seen come about recently, starting with the rescheduled fixture last week on the Wednesday against Solihull Moors in the Arthur Cup. Great turnout by Blues fans and Solihull fans alike. Great to see us supporting the cause as well, as we mentioned in our previous podcast.
Yeah.
1-0 win for the Blues, courtesy of a goal from Alfonso. Great cross by Emil Hansen, and to single out Emil Hansen as well in terms of a performance, really competent, really clean from him, some great runs, making himself available as well. Good to see him back in action, really, particularly after really not seeing very much of him last season due to injury. Would you agree, Joe?
Yeah, I think it's one of them, like you just said on that last point, the injury prone there is obviously a shame for him, but obviously a very prolific and consistent player in the Eredivisie before he joined Blues last summer. But as you say, to reiterate that, it was a great run down the line. Obviously, we were front row for it in the front of the Cop, weren't we?
We were, row one.
It was great touch. I don't know who put the ball over the top. It might have been Pendleton, maybe.
I think it could have been.
Or Bateka.
Not sure. Maswi, maybe.
Could be Maswi.
Yeah.
Also, we'll touch on him, but he had a great game as well. But
he did.
Yeah, great touch from Emil. Took the player on and then put it in. And Alphonse was actually a fantastic finish. I mean, I don't know about any Blues fans watching as well, but when we saw it from where we were, I mean, you were in the loo, weren't you? So we'll talk about that in a bit.
We will, yeah.
There's a bit of a conspiracy behind that. Anytime you go for a piss, that's it.
Not in too much detail, though.
No, we'll leave that part out. That's on plus. Anyway, yeah, it was a great cross, and like I say, I thought he'd hit the side net, but it was slotted into the bottom corner with a great volley, and yeah, it was great, wasn't it? What do you reckon? You think it was a good performance?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was important, obviously, as we said, about the turnout and all the rest of it. And there was, at 6 minutes, 6 minutes or 9 minutes. That's a faux pas of mine. Yeah, on 6 minutes, obviously the applause, well observed by everybody. The referee stopped the game, and both sides kind of stopped and applauded, as did the whole of the crowd, irrespective of which club.
Yeah, that was really nice. Agreed on that.
So
really nice.
So that was great. But as far as the game was concerned, yeah, it was good to see some of the youngsters, and some of them did impress. We talked about Maswi at left back, which, as I understand it, He's not his normal position. He's a midfielder for the most part. But I thought he acquitted himself very well. And, okay, it's National League level, but he looked good enough and comfortable enough to play at that level and maybe even above it potentially. But he was quick, he was decisive, his passing was pretty crisp. So, I was quite impressed by him. Emile as well, that was good and interesting, as you two have already said. If only because he made the appearance, and there's various theories going around about who's in the bomb squad, as it were, and people talking about, Emile, Dion, obviously, who played as well, and Alphonse Stamsted. So are they in it or are they out? And I think some of the answer to that, as far as Emile was concerned, was evident in the next game away at Port Vale, which we'll talk about, but only because he was in the squad, which was very interesting to me to see that happen. So maybe the bridges aren't burnt completely yet.
Yeah, and on the flip side of that, I think obviously we talk about those sort of fringe players there, which is obviously, it's good to see that, and this is where you want to try your best to break into that first team in that pre-season period there. But on the flip side of that, if we look at some of the youngsters, some of the young boys who, some of them really only just signed their first professional contract.
Absolutely.
For them to show out the way that they did. Who's the 9 who plays in? He's not a 9, but he wears number 9. He plays at CDM.
Is it Pendleton?
Very good player. Really good ball control and gets us moving up the pitch. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Iwata in that sense. Yeah. In terms of changing the direction of the game and getting us moving up the pitch. So he played well. Obviously Brad Mayo as well.
Yeah, Brad Mayo turned in a really good game. I was going to give him a shout as well. Really good to see him between the sticks for that fixture. For when he, I suppose, in a sense, lacks in the height department, and I suppose this isn't always typical of modern-day goalkeepers either, in comparison to keepers such as James Beadle and Ryan Allsop for ourselves. Controlled his penalty area really well, was clear and crisp in his commands. Whenever he came for the ball, took it cleanly. I think there was the one stop he did make as well, and again, that was clean as well. Didn't let the ball drop after. Some good distribution as well, finding a blue shirt near enough every time as well, or at least giving a position where they could challenge a Moors player for it cleanly. So good to see him turn out, and it'd be nice to see more of him. I mean, hopefully maybe even against Sheffield United, but I sense maybe that might be more of maybe a James Beadle fixture, but it would be nice to see Brad Mayo turn out against Sheffield United in the Carabao Cup. I would agree. As you say, Brad Mayo's, could he potentially be a fringe? I think that the suggestion is there for that because he went to Portugal with the boys and we played Sevilla there. That's what got me thinking more in that respect. Yeah, exactly that. So, I think, still a young lad, and as you say, obviously, with modern goalkeepers, there's not much height there, but, he seems like a proper character. And I think I said this maybe on the last one or perhaps one of the pilot episodes we did at some point, but I think you need big characters. You do.
Goalkeeper, you really need that. And we've had a history of them. Lee Camp was one. Obviously, Mike Taylor, who's now part of the coaching staff. We've had Kushak as well.
Joe Hart as well. Ben Foster.
Big one. Ben Foster, another big
one.
All
big characters.
So I think you really need that, and that's something that he's clearly showcasing. But I think overall, it was a good, very good turnout, not just for the occasion, but the young boys that played, and it was a good performance, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it may well be that some of those that were there, we talked about Brad Mayo there, and he would definitely be amongst them. Are they therefore in the shop window as far as showcasing their abilities are concerned for loans? Because it won't be too long now.
Perhaps, there's got to be some of that.
Yeah, next 2 or 3 weeks, isn't it, where the club are going to start making decisions about who they're going to retain in the first team squad from that under 21 kind of pool. Or are they better served going out to National League, League Two? I suspect that's the level that most of them would be at. Look what Brendan Keeler managed to achieve last season. Went to Bradford, performed well, got himself a move to Peterborough in League One, so he's starting to move up the ladder bit by bit. And that's the template, isn't it, for those guys? I alluded to it last week about how important this was. And those games, the games they've played in, and they've had significant exposure, including the Northampton game, that will let clubs look at them, and give them a taste of what they're getting if they bring them in. So, I think it was good exposure, and it was good to see them, and there were some good games from some individuals. Yeah.
I agree. Just as a side note as well, because me and you had the experience of this, you had to wait a little while for your chips, didn't you, in the Cop Amphitheatre?
I did, yeah.
However, we've had experience of the curry in the fan park.
Yeah.
But this time having them in the Cop Amphitheatre, I don't know if any of Blues fans have had them from there, but they are so nice.
It was brilliant, weren't it?
Literally, the guy, we went there, and I just went to the loo, and I come back, and the guy was like, "What do you want it?" I was like, "Mate, whatever you got, just fucking slap it on there.
Yeah.
It's going to, hardly anything, but like, it was so good, wasn't it?
It was so good, and it was plentiful as well, wasn't it, in the
Yeah.
portion size?
Yeah.
To the point where, you had 3 pieces of naan bread separately, and you didn't need the naan bread in the end.
Oh, we were fucked, weren't we?
Oh, it was brilliant. It was great, but yeah, well worth the money that you pay.
So the takeaway from this week's podcast, if anything, is big portions.
Yeah,
Yeah, pretty
big
much.
portions of food.
Yeah.
That's the takeaway from this week. Nothing to do with the post-match analysis or anything else.
Takeaway,
It's just
very good as well.
Takeaway. Hey, there we go.
Yeah.
Punchline.
Couldn't make it up, could you?
No, you couldn't. So,
Again, I did.
hey, it's great stuff.
It is.
Going into the fixtures, the double headers, the back-to-back matches on the Saturday against Port Vale and Northampton Town. Of course, Blues picking up a 2-0 win at Port Vale. Good to see there. Obviously, we weren't able to see it on Blues TV as it was prohibited by Port Vale. I think they had some trialists on the day. Unfortunately, the younger Blues team, I suppose what we've referred to as the bomb squad, going down 3-0 up at Northampton Town. But if we break down the Port Vale match first, the 2-0 win over there. Good performance again, competent, clean, a bit more what we've come accustomed to seeing with a Chris Davis team. A lot of the first teamers turning out there again, seeing some good performances there. So, Andy, what did you make of it?
Obviously we didn't get the benefit for the first time this season of not seeing the team play. We watched Sevilla and we watched at Burton Albion as well. So this is all a little bit of kind of hearsay. Not only have Burton not allowed us to beam it, there's no highlights that are available. Now there's a bit of a snippet of Willem's goal, the second one. So really we've got no factual basis with our own eyes to base this upon. What I think I drew from it from comments that I've seen from people, and if we're talking specifically about some of the newer players, obviously Aaron Cashin made his debut, which was good to see, and welcome to him to the club.
Yep.
I always think personally it's just a bit of a thing of mine that balance in all areas of the pitch. If you've got a left footer that can play, we saw it last season with Ben Davis. Obviously we've got Alex Cochrane as left back, who's a left footer as well. I think it just helps with distribution. The ball comes across. Chris Davis has talked about it.
Yeah.
The distribution's a lot easier if you're coming out wide, which we often do. I think he, from what I can gather, he was steady. There were a few misplaced passes, but you got to bear in mind the guy was only in the building on Thursday.
Yeah.
He had one training session on the Friday, and then he was straight into the team. And this is because Phil Neumann was missing through a small knock, again from what Chris Davis was telling us. But I think to go in like that and to come out with a steady performance, he did well to do that. So that was good, and he adds to our defensive options, which is important.
Yeah, I think as you both alluded to there, the obvious thing being that we couldn't watch the game. Obviously, whatever Blues fans think about that, obviously on the day it was kind of annoying, wasn't it? Because you the day before you're expecting to obviously pay for that game, and that's the one you watch, and whichever one it was going to be, Northampton or Port Vale. Whichever one is going on Blues TV, you hope is the one where the first team are going to be.
Yeah.
And that's obviously why a lot of fans were pissed, and that's understandable. I was kind of the same on the day. But nonetheless, obviously from, some bits and pieces of things we've read, and there's one or two highlights out there from a couple of the guys who were at the game. I think, like you say, it seemed like another classic performance of recent times. Obviously, Aaron Cashin in there. From what I read, a good performance, like you said. He came off at half-time, didn't he, with, I think it was a stomach issue.
That's right, yeah.
So, obviously just minor stuff. And, I think Chris Davis, alluded to it after the Burton game, and obviously after this one as well, is that it is the new players with the boys from last season are still gelling, and that takes time. And it might not even be ready by the time we play on August 8th, under the lights and being on, because, the transfer window is still continuing past that point. And we might get one or two, new additions there. So it's like, they got to take time as well if more boys come in. But as far as the Blues we got for now, I think it was 2 good goals. I think Willem hit the post for his actually.
Yeah.
I think it was headed down from maybe Tommy Doyle, and it was poked in off the post and in. So, but I think it was overall a good performance. And to be honest as well, I know it's only pre-season, and a lot of people say it don't matter. I think part of it does. In some aspects, it was just good to see us win.
Just gives you confidence if you see things knitting together.
Yeah.
I think that's what you want, isn't it?
There
are signs that's
you
happening. Another newish player, he's already played a game, but another one is Kyogo up front. Obviously,
Yeah.
Stano's still out with a slight knock at the moment, so he was leading the line. I think one or two of the things of feedback that I've seen, both from the media and from fans online as well, is you've got to give the guy time.
Yeah.
There's some feedback from Celtic fans who obviously have watched him, kind of at a fairly kind of consistent level, going over several seasons. You give him the right service, he's going to be a goal machine.
Yeah.
But if you don't play to his strengths, he's almost a passenger.
We were talking about this one, man.
We were.
I think I know where you're going with that. I think we were saying, weren't we, and some of the clips we've seen of him, how many times does he peel off the last man? And he's going through that last line. But you were saying, with the way we play, and we've talked about before, a lot of it is side to side. I think you were saying on the last one, that is the Chris Davis way to play.
It is.
It is in general in
It is.
English football now. But with him and your wide areas, you've got to spot the balls going in behind. You've got to find him that way. And maybe what it is that we might come up against them when we play Ipswich or Southampton or Leicester or some of these teams who are going to come at us. Can we play it in behind when they press us? Can we break the lines that way? And that's where a player like that can come into play and as you say, play to his strengths.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I don't know what you've seen, Dan, when you've been watching him on the games you've seen.
So positive from what I've seen.
Yeah.
As you say, Joe, it's sort of, as we've alluded to before, sort of the typical Chris Davis way of playing. And I don't know about yourselves, but I think there was a handful of games last season when we played in League One where, because we were so committed to the way in which we were playing under Chris Davis, and evidently still are, that we didn't spot those runs in behind sometimes and didn't break down teams in maybe ways that we could have done. I don't think it's lack of ability. I think it's just application and how you go about doing that. Because always changing your approach mid-game is always difficult. Particularly when it's not something you would do normally. You've got to have the ability on the bench to come off and change a game, and I think that's going to be more of a challenge this season, like you say, Joe, with the big teams coming down, like the likes of Leicester, Ipswich, Southampton. They're going to be direct teams, and they're going to offer us something else that we probably haven't come up against recently. And Chris Davis will be aware of this, I don't doubt that, but it'll just be interesting to see how that plays out, really. Yeah,
that's it. It is past the teething issues in some sense now. Obviously now it's about patterns of play. Against those big teams, how do we play? How can we manipulate a game halfway through? And as you say, that is difficult to do. We saw last season, didn't we? How many teams, basically sat in. I mean, that was the story of last season when it play against 11 men behind the ball, and you've got to try and break through. This season, I think there's going to be a little by natural of course of we've gone up a league, and we're going to be playing teams that are going to come at us and not going to fear us.
Yeah.
Is there an argument to say that those teams are going to be more open now?
It's about adapting, isn't it? That's how I see it as a broad sweep thing. Last season we had to adapt because of the way that people were playing largely, certainly at St Andrews at United Park anyway, we kind of, deep banks of kind of defence and midfield. You've got to look for a way through, you've got to be patient. Obviously the crowd would occasionally get restless about that, you want to see action. But you find other ways to do it, you bring on Lyndon Dykes or Duke last season. It gave us an aerial threat when we needed it at times, and sometimes that was needed. This coming season, adaptation will be required again, and Chris Davis talked about this recently. The reason we've got players with pace that have come in is because the counter-attack is going to be more prevalent for us this season. It's not all about playing the way that we've played before. If that works, and it's fine, but you've got to accept the fact, the CD has said himself, that there are better teams than us as far as keeping hold of the ball is concerned in this division.
Yeah, there is.
There's a number, actually. We're not just talking about ones and twos. There's a decent number in there. We've got to pay respect to the division.
Yeah.
And
Agreed.
On that basis, if you know that teams are going to do that, you've got to have something different.
Yeah.
You can't just expect that you're going to have the ball and be frustrated if you don't. Okay, what's your threat?
Yeah.
What's your attacking outlet?
Yeah.
And because we've got some players with pace and maybe others coming in to enhance that, then that gives us that option. It means that we've got another way of playing that will get us over the line. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that unfolds, to be honest.
Yeah, and on the flip side of that, obviously we're just covering the Port Vale game there, and obviously a little bit about how we're going to gel together moving into the first game of the season. But obviously the game that I'm not actually sure if you did watch the Northampton game.
I didn't actually, no.
Well, we had, I was going to say the misfortune of watching it, but it was a shit watch. I mean, no disrespect to the young boys that played, but I mean, we just, I think it might have been after 2-0. It was just like, but for what we did see, obviously I think a couple of the young boys that did well in the Solihull game did well again there.
Yeah.
As far as Beadle was concerned, there was a couple of good saves in there. I have got to say, some good shot stopping there. And I remember people saying before, I think we were saying in the last podcast on one of the pilots, that he parries it into the danger areas. But I found that in that game, he did parry it away into areas where, your fullbacks could clear it or get us up the pitch.
Yeah, it's good to see, because I think he needs to be able to do that, particularly in this division where there are going to be players waiting on the spot, ready to turn it back goldwards. Particularly when you look at some of the calibre of the strikers in this division, not only sort of amongst the top teams, as it were, like you say, you'd expect a lot to be Ipswich, Leicester, Southamptons, but other teams that, as you say, Andy, we have to pay respect to in that respect, in the way we play. And James Beadle's going to be a part of that potentially. I think probably most Blues fans assuming it's probably going to be Ryan Allsop starting, but who knows? But I think the other element they've been concerned about with Beadle will probably be his distribution as well. And maybe it's unfair to cast him in this light, because you've got to think at the end of the day he's not playing with first team players in that team necessarily, but it's still the makeup and the style of play that he will be a part of. And maybe he just needs more experience in the first team, a bit more exposure. I know he has been playing league football, but I feel like the bar's been raised with us. And he'll have that expectation. I think he'll know that, but it's just how he applies himself to that, and whether he's able to meet that standard and improve. But hopefully that's starting to change now. We're parrying it off to the side rather back into the danger. But as of so far, as you say, Joe, we haven't seen that yet. No. But give it time. But I think at the moment, maybe this is as well what other Blues fans are thinking as well, and I know we are for definite, is maybe just starting with Ryan Allsop for the time being, particularly going into Ipswich as well. I just feel the back line would feel happier. I think we'd feel happier in the stands as well watching that. But we'll see what time brings with that anyway.
Yeah, I mean, things change quickly, don't they?
They do.
We've talked about this before, with the Bailey Peacock Farrell starting last season. He was very much the number one at that point. He played every game apart from the cup games. And there didn't seem to be a way through for Ryan Allsop, and then all of a sudden, in the space of a couple of games, BPF made too many errors to build on top of some of the poorly judged things prior to that.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, Allsop's in, and that's it. The season's done. Now, who's to say? I don't expect it, but who can predict anything really as far as this is concerned? Who's to say that Allsop might not be the one who makes the mistakes, and Beadle comes in and shows why he plays for England under 21s and why he played all those games for Sheffield Wednesday last season. There's something there. The staff at Blues wouldn't bring him in if they didn't think that, and his record speaks for itself, so far for a young man. Let's bear that in mind as well.
He does, yeah, absolutely. We've got to remember where he's come from and where he's got to now. Give him his due in that respect. But as you say, it might be Allsop that drops the ball, no pun intended, early on in the season, and it might be Beadle that comes in and shows his worth. But time will tell with that. And I think before moving into the preview of the final friendly against Nottingham Forest in the Trevor Francis Memorial match, we'll touch on transfer news.
Yes.
Obviously, since our last podcast, Alfie Mayer's moved to Huddersfield Town. I think I can speak for us and all Blues fans. We were disappointed with that move. I still really think, and as I alluded to in the last podcast, Alfie could have done a job in the Championship for us. Made up for him, because I think he'll get consistent first-team football at Huddersfield, and I think they'll really utilise his talents. But it was sad to see him go anyway.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's, as you say, there's that sentimental aspect with Alfie, isn't there, that we've seen people talk about it online and other podcasts on YouTube as well, that it was sad to see him go. But I think you were saying what you before, Dad, about obviously Chris Davis alluded to the fact that you don't have to stay here. I'm not going to make you do it, and I ain't going to make you go either. But I will be real with you and say that you might not be playing 90 minutes every week. And as far as that role last season, he was fantastic for us. And I think there was some data somewhere that showed that his output and results-based stuff was arguably, it was factually better than Stano's.
Yeah, if you're looking at kind of, the numbers of goals per 90 minutes played, I think somebody did some analysis that I saw that said that he was top. I mean, what did he score? 16 goals, if you include the disputed one. Yeah. What was it like? 7 assists as well, 7 or 8 actually. But he brought something different, I thought, at times to what we expected as well. Bringing other people, got maturity as well in terms of showing the younger members of the squad kind of what it's all about in League One, and we needed that. We needed somebody with that head in that division, not just for goal scoring reasons.
Well, that head's going to do well now in League One, isn't it, with Huddersfield Town? And the ironic thing is that it was 12 months ago that it looked like he was going to go there, wasn't it? And obviously he came to us, and we were grateful to have him. But at the end of the day, I think I'll speak for the three of us here, and all the Blues fans. But we wish him all the best, don't we?
Absolutely,
I hope he absolutely smashes it, and he's top goal scorer again in that league. Yeah. But all the best to him. But as far as what Blues do and what we're concerned, obviously, as we just touched on in the pre-season games just played, Aaron Cashin on loan from Brighton and Hove Albion. As you say,
good addition. Glad to have him here.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you touched on, Dad, with being a left-footed centre half, has that ability to open us up and get us up to the left side of the pitch. And that's hard to come across, and Chris Davies has obviously alluded to that already, hasn't he?
Correct. Yeah, he has, yeah. No, it's true. I mean, one or two others that are kind of outliers at the moment, and some of them have been bubbling under for a little bit of time. So there's been talk about another forward, Marvin Duksh, I think. The Duck, as you want to call him, yeah. Connected with us, he's a Bundesliga striker, Werder Bremen.
Yep.
He plays forwards, got a decent scoring record there. Weirdly, for quite a tall bloke, he's actually one of those people who's good with his feet. He seems to play and score more goals with that than he does as a typical target man, which is interesting in its own right.
Reminds me a bit of Willem.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I'll say he's a little bit like Willem, isn't he?
Yeah. Obviously more forward playing, as it were, so maybe could play in the 10, could play on his own up front. He has played apparently in a 2 and a 1 while playing for Bremen in the last couple of seasons. So that's been bubbling under for a while. All kinds of rumours of there's a flight out of Birmingham to Bremen and Bremen back to Birmingham and all this kind of stuff,
The classic thing earlier where somebody took a picture of the Epic Centre and just like edited a duck. Then he's like, he's here, mate. He's signed. So.
I that one I get. I mean, some people are saying there's going to be signings like Tuesday, which is tomorrow as we record now, or Wednesday. So I guess we'll see. I don't think there's much solid other than that, to be honest.
No, I don't think other than that really than what we've talked about. I think as well, not necessarily in terms of in and out movements of the club, but as we talked about in the last podcast, Ethan Laird potentially linked with Sunderland. Not Sunderland, Southampton. Knew it began with an S. And then, of course, Mark Leonard potentially linked as well with following Alfie May over to Huddersfield, potentially on a loan move. Obviously, not much has materialised in terms of those moves, and it sort of died down a little bit. Probably more died down on Ethan Laird with Southampton rather than Mark Leonard linked with Huddersfield.
This is where it's going to bite us and jump us.
Yeah, and they're both going to go in the week. So even if you're listening, stay where the fuck you are.
Yeah, basically.
And same for Leonard as well.
Yeah.
I think it was interesting to see, though, when the rumours came about on the different platforms discussing between Blues fans, was people were more disappointed potentially to see Mark Leonard go out on loan rather than Ethan Laird. There was some concern over Ethan Laird's potential move to Southampton, but there was more concern from what I could see of Mark Leonard moving on his loan move out to Huddersfield potentially. And I do get the sense that maybe in Chris Davies' side he's been underutilised. And you touched on before, Andy, almost that he's kind of a player that doesn't play exactly in the way that Chris Davies would like in terms of picking the safe option, maybe takes too many risks, maybe becomes too ambitious in games. But I quite like him. I like to see him out on the field for us.
Yeah, he's got potential not just in the pivot 2/6s, as he's also, I think, and I don't think he's been utilised there much at all, as a 10. If he's somebody that you're afraid of, if you're Chris Davies and you're afraid that he's trying too many risky forward passes, surely that's better if you're in a 10. Because the results of it not coming off, okay, you lose possession, which isn't what Chris wants. He's very risk averse as far as that's concerned. But at least, if nothing else, the other team aren't near your goal at that point.
Yeah.
So, that's the time to try it, isn't it? Now, whether that transpires or not, I don't know, because in the Port Vale game, he was playing alongside Iwata in the pivot, and it was Tommy Doyle who was playing further forward at number 10, which I quite like the idea of. I think he sees runs. I think he sees passes ahead of other people at our level.
Well, this is it. We couldn't watch the game, but as we were reading, is that he apparently played very, very well for the people that were there and watched. Yeah. And I think that's obviously the quality that we've hopefully brought in there, and that's going to show through. But Yeah, as you say, I think that there's probably going to be one or two more additions. I don't know about the Duck just yet. Proper shithouse I've heard apparently as well.
Is that right?
Yeah,
that's just brilliant.
Yeah, like proper giving it to the away
Reason
fans.
alone, that is.
We love that.
See, that'll be great.
I've seen
you can
enough
imagine
getting
him and
in.
Stano, can't you, together?
Yeah,
that'll just be great.
15 minutes of added time with them
yeah,
two.
right.
That'd be great.
Going to be off the
Actually,
charts.
that'd be brilliant. You just have every mentality then before the game for every team, sort of
Yeah.
like come at me, bro.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Sort of mentality.
should be interesting.
But that'll be interesting. How's it going, fellow Blues fans? Hope you're enjoying the channel so far and liking today's video. I wanted to take a minute of your time to talk about our sponsor, Bangla Lounge Indian Cuisine. For these three Blue boys, Bangla Lounge has been the go-to choice to enjoy the very finest in Indian cuisine for over a decade now. Made with the freshest ingredients using authentic recipes, Bangla Lounge produces some of the best Indian cuisine that I've ever tasted. And if you enjoy takeaway at the end of the week, the orders for collection and delivery with 15% discount, ordering direct through the website. If you enjoy a sit-down meal, you can enjoy this for a 2-for-1 offer, running up for Sunday to Thursday every week on main courses. Or if you're celebrating a special occasion, such as a birthday, Bangla Lounge offers a buffet restaurant every Sunday, running from 5:30pm to 10pm. So if you like a tasty curry or a sizzling tandoori, get yourself down to Bangla Lounge Hell's Owen. Links in the description below of our video. And if you would like to fine dine after a win in the B9. Thanks very much. Now back to the podcast. Of course, leading into the with the first team, leading into the final friendly fixture in the Trevor Francis Memorial match against Nottingham Forest.
Yep.
Hopefully we'll get to see the first team in action. Obviously it needs to be relatively guarded. I think possibly we'd be more understanding in this situation, wouldn't we, with at that point a week away, or less than a week away actually, from the opening championship fixture against Ipswich Town.
Yeah.
But it'll be exciting nonetheless to see them in action. I think we did see as well, didn't we, when we went to the rescheduled Solihull Moors game at St Andrews at United Park, they were actually in the final construction stages of the Trevor Francis Memorial.
Yeah.
So that'd be nice to see as well when we turn up there.
Yeah, that'll be exciting to see, when I think we saw the initial construction when we went to the Blue Shop about a month ago.
Yeah.
And because I remember when we walked up to the Solihull Moors game and you were like, what the fuck are they doing there? And I was like,
Yeah.
it's the memorial. And you're like, oh, shit for that.
Yeah,
game.
I generally didn't know anything about it until until I asked about it and you knew about it.
So that'd be cool when they unveil that. I would assume it will be obviously just before the game they do that. But yeah, like you say, I think that at this point, it's the occasion obviously is one thing, but at the end of the day, it is the last pre-season game before the fireworks go off. So, at the end of the day, we expect the first team to go in there at like 90%, realistically 100%, and really see how we're going to start putting things together with our passages of play. Obviously, our identity remains the same.
It does.
But how are we going to fare? I mean, I don't know how much of the first team Forest are going to put out. I think they've got 2 or 3 pre-season games after us, to my knowledge. So, but nonetheless, I think I'm quite excited just for the game itself.
Yeah, it'd be a bigger test, wouldn't it? We're talking about not at one level above. We're talking several levels above when we're playing up against these people. Let's not forget what they did last season.
Yeah.
And they outperformed, overperformed, but they did really, really well.
Yeah.
They brought in the right people, and obviously they sold Elanga, as I alluded to on last week's pod.
Yeah.
The manager knows what he's doing. He's got a good, experience at the Premier League level.
Yeah.
It'll be a real test. It'll be a real, but it's needed, isn't it? I think all of a sudden, the real ball has nearly come out.
Yeah.
And this is the last chance to start looking at kind of are the fitness levels right. People's attitudes right. Is the pattern of play working the way we want it to? Can we adapt during the course of the game if we have to? Bearing in mind Forest's style, which they may or may not play against us, is going to be counter-attacking.
Yeah.
Have we got those angles covered? And obviously, the season is an iterative beast anyway, isn't it? There's an evolutionary aspect to everybody's season, whatever team you are, because you find things out as you're going along. So it's never a kind of a cut-off point, the last friendly. It's never like, right, if we haven't got it right at the end of that game, that's it. We're broken.
Yeah.
But it's an important indicator, and that's the key thing, is that they get as close to being ready for that first game as they can.
Yeah, I would agree. It's the excitement builds, isn't it? Now when we get to August 2nd, which ironically enough, when we get to that game, alluding into the next thing we're going to talk about, it will be out, won't it?
It will be. It would have been. It would have been the day after, won't it?
Yeah.
And of course, we saw another teaser trailer or another clip, essentially, from the upcoming Prime documentary.
Yep.
Tom Brady in the pub.
Yeah.
With Mr. Wagner as well. It was good to see.
Yeah.
I think that gives us, again, a little bit of a taste of the tone of it, as it were, and what we can expect. And as Andy has even alluded to before as well, given who's going to be directing the series as well, I think it's just going to reach out on so many levels to so many people. It's going to be well made. It's going to be well thought out, and it's going to, as we've alluded to in the last podcast, just reach out to audiences that otherwise wouldn't have been associated with the club before.
Yeah.
And very much, I think, not only the club but Tom Brady is going to be a draw in this situation.
Yeah.
And help us reach those audiences that otherwise, as I say, wouldn't have been associated with the club before, but still so looking forward to it.
We touched on that, didn't we, in the last one?
It'll be good. It'll be good.
Yeah, but and as you say, that outreach there, which is obviously very important to the club. But as far as we're concerned, from Birmingham, obviously, and all the Birmingham fans, it's obviously very exciting. I think at the Solihull Moors game as well, on the big screens, it showed obviously the main trailer for it. And I think it was when we went to the shop a few weeks ago, the big screens on the outside of the ground.
Yeah.
They were showing it there as well.
Yeah. Yes, they were, yeah.
Cool.
And then they showed the full-length trailer at half-time at the Solihull Moors game.
Yeah.
It was either half-time or before the game. I think it was half-time, actually.
In my head then, I thought you were going to say they showed it at half-time at, NFL. I mean, they probably would.
They could.
Yeah,
I mean, let's be fair. In the US, if Tom Brady's in anything, the Americans are going to watch it.
Yeah, and like, what the fuck's this Birmingham City shit? Okay, come over and watch it then.
Tom Wagner's going to be there. You're going to watch it.
Yeah, literally, yeah.
Literally going to be getting people to watch it. Otherwise, wouldn't be associated with the club.
Yeah.
Marketing by force. This is going to be now from Tommy Wagner.
He likes to be aggressive, doesn't he? As far as the product is concerned,
It'll be interesting to see what he's got to say during the documentary as well, because obviously there's been a few clips of him in the trailers as well.
Yeah.
When he's talked about us being in the Premier League, it's a question of when, not if. It's just that kind of mentality that we've always associated with Tom Wagner, and that'll be good to see, in addition to everything else as well that it'll bring.
Yeah, and maybe look forward to some future episodes if they make another series of it where he's in the fan park where we were. We saw him there a few times, didn't we?
Yeah.
Making a visit and having a pint with people.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah, it was good for him to do that, and be approachable. I mean, because there's been a lot of, on a more serious note, there's a lot of problems with that, weren't there, for the previous decade? The owners were just faceless people. There's a lot of football clubs who've been in that position. You just want people to be visible and approachable.
I was just thinking that, as you were just saying, that 10 years void where we do not feel connected to who owns the club at all, and it almost made you feel like, well, who really owns the club? It's us. I mean, obviously we do, and Wagner's alluded to that. The fans are the ones that are the club. Obviously, we're still here when they go and all the rest of it, and through all the shit and whatnot. But on the flip side of that, it's great to finally have an owner, and I do think it is rare. I mean, we were saying, weren't we, like, even at the Mansfield game, and when you met him and had a picture with him and everything, he's just there amongst you.
Yeah.
Like, the owner of the club, who's, a billionaire, basically, he's just there having a drink with you and having a chat with you, and it's like, this is great. It actually feels like, not just all the other stuff that they're doing with the club, but he's physically there. He gives a shit.
Yeah, it's good to, I mean, you can look at it cynically, can't you, and say, he's made an investment and his business is about turning things around and adding value quickly and that. And you could look at it that way, but he doesn't have to do it, does he?
True.
Do you know what I mean? There are plenty of others who've gone in, including our own club, who've not bothered to make that investment of time. So it is important, I think, and it's good to see.
Well, the days of the past, only a few short years ago, you had Dong Ren rocking up to the training ground in full fucking Blues outfit.
Yeah, and offering people fights in the car park.
That's it. Yeah, trying to sack Harley Dean. He told him to fuck off, didn't he?
Oh, it's absolutely night and day now, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it was interesting actually to see how this has transcended into other areas as well across football. Not only in terms of supporters of other clubs and other podcasts, but sort of podcasters and YouTubers who cover sort of the English Football League in general. There's a video I came across from a creator. Apologies, I'm not able to recall their name actually at this moment in time. But they were ranking owners in the Championship from 24th to 1st, so from worst to best. Would you like to hazard a guess, gentlemen, as to where he placed us?
It depends on who this channel was a fan of.
From what I've seen from most of his content, he's pretty down the middle. He has done videos on us before, but he's pretty down the middle. Shall I tell you?
If he's being objective, I'd say we'd be in the top 3.
Nearly.
Go on then.
Nearly. We were 5th.
Okay.
And he did prefix this with, before the Blues fans bite my head off, I'm placing you 5th because of potential. Yes, you've achieved what you did, and no club has ever achieved in terms of the points record coming out of League One, coming back into the Championship. You very much bounced back, but now it's about the potential.
That's a fair
We all
point.
know you're going to be in the
that,
Premier League one day, but it's whether you do that or not.
Yeah.
Number one was Wrexham.
Okay.
Actually,
Which, to be fair,
that's
I
fair.
get that as well.
Yeah,
I get
fair
that.
fucks.
potential against what they've achieved, I think that's probably fair.
Yeah, massively.
I think that's probably still
They've gone
fair.
back to back to back, haven't they?
Yeah.
Well, they have, exactly. I probably would have. At the end of the day, we're going to be seen as biased, aren't we? At the end of the day, but I would have placed us higher than fifth. I am going to complain about that.
I probably agree with what he said, and looking at it from, you've got to remember other people kind of see other factors to the ones that we see. We've said it before ourselves. As far as Wrexham are concerned, they're ahead of the curve. For against everybody really, even in our division, because they understand and they've well practiced it over the last 4 or 5 seasons to get it to that level. They've got very visible owners. They've got very well known owners as well. We've got a lot of influence in various circles. They've become very, very adept at leveraging all of those things to promote their team, and that's where we have got to try and get to. We've got to try and emulate that,
Yeah, I would agree with that fair assessment. I think that, I understand where you're coming from with placing us probably a bit higher, but maybe there is a bit of bias there. But I think if you think about it objectively, 5th is probably fair, 5th or 4th, because we've done only a bit, and Wagner himself has alluded to the fact that, and I'll quote, not even fucking close. You remember at the Mansfield game, and he's right about that. Like,
I think he is.
They haven't done anything yet.
And as I say, I'm only complaining about it from the perspective of, being biased as a Blues fan. But I think, as you say, if you looked at it objectively, which I hope maybe other Blues fans can probably think in that sense as well, in terms of understanding the message there and the reason why we're placed in that position. This is only ever one opinion from one curator, but I think it's a fair assessment, because it's about potential. Yes, we've achieved what we wanted to do and get out of League One, achieving a points record that I think will be incredibly hard for any club to break going forward.
I would agree.
And credit where credit's due if anybody does. And absolutely,
look,
as you
next
say,
season,
Andy,
it? Fucking Huddersfield.
Oh, absolutely, 112 points it will be. And Alfie
will
will score the winner on the last game of the season.
Yeah,
to edge him
2 seasons in a row, broke the fucking points record, ain't I? Cheers, Gaffer.
Coming for you, Birmingham.
Yeah, literally.
That's what it'll be.
Yeah.
As long as we get out of the division the right way, I'm not really too bothered with that. It'll be interesting to see when it all kicks off, and of course, I think that will be felt amongst the Blues fans that will be at the Nottingham Forest friendly and the Trevor Francis Memorial match. Obviously, you two will be there. Prior commitments for myself, so I won't be attending, but we'll all be firing on all cylinders, ready for the Ipswich game, which of course we'll be previewing in the next podcast. I think that about wraps us up for today, doesn't it, gents?
It does.
So it's good to have you all back again. Good to be on here.
Good to be here.
Hitting the ground running again. So thanks very much for your time.
And you?
Absolutely, and we'll see you again soon. And to all our fellow Blue Noses, thanks very much for coming on here again to join us in another episode of the Free Blue Boys podcast. Remember to like, subscribe if you haven't done so already. Follow us on our social media platforms, details of which are on the screen now and in the description and the link below. Until then, stay true to the Raw Blue and keep right on.
See you right on.
Keep right on.